In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my 10 favorite games of all time. Well, at least until I remake this list again, like I have several times before making this video, because I'm constantly playing games all the time and I'm remaking this list probably every single year. But these are games that I love, so let's talk about them. Starting off, we have Final Girl, an absolutely incredible solo game. All these games are based around different classic horror movies. I've only really played 3 different setups. The Happy Trail one that's based off Friday the 13th, Slaughter in the Grove, and Nightmare on Maple Lane. Now there's tons of other sets you can get. There is another season 2 or set 2 of Final Girl with even more villains and final girls that you can play as. I think there's even going to be a season 3 coming to crowdfunding soon as well. But each different set comes in its own film box setup with different changes to the gameplay. Pretty much you are playing as a final girl and you need to save people and take out the killer in different ways. Like an example in Nightmare on Maple Lane, you can only kill the killer in your sleep. And each final girl will have their own unique ability and playstyle in the game, and you can mix them up if you have different sets as well, which makes it have tons of replayability. I just find this game super thematic and it really fits the horror classic movies inside a board game format. Now, any game that mixes deck building and worker placement, one of my 2 favorite mechanics when it comes to board games, really well, is a game I want to try. That is why at number 9 I have Lost Ruins of Arnak. Now what I really love about this game is the fact that the cards that you add to your deck are the cards that you need to use to go to these different locations. It's a card driven worker placement game, which is very unique and I think is fantastic. Overall, a great game with tons of different ways to gain points. There's also another side of the board that you can play to change up gameplay a bit. It is pretty well balanced and there's tons of actions you can do on your turn. It doesn't take too long and the locations can come out in different orders every time you play. It feels great at 2, 3, and 4 players. There's also different fear cards that you're trying to get rid of. You start with fear cards, but there's other ways to gain them throughout the game as well. And if you keep them, then they're going to be worth minus points at the end of the game. So you really want to get rid of those fear cards because they clog up your deck. Now there are some expansions for this game that I haven't tried out, but if you have, please let me know and what you think of them in the comment section down below. Now let's move on to number 8, and that is Dune Imperium. Now there's a couple reasons why I like this more than Lost Ruins of Arnak. It is still a worker placement and deck building game, but why I prefer this one a little bit more is because the cards can actually do different things differently in this game than compared to Lost Ruins of Arnak. Like the cards in your hand at the end of your turn can actually have bonuses that go off. So there's a little bit more thinking and strategizing, planning on what cards you should play versus what cards you should keep in your hand. And I just really haven't seen that mechanic before in a deck building game. So that's why I'm placing Dune at number 8. There's also combat in the game where you're trying to gain different end of round bonuses, and the end goal is not played over rounds, it's the first player to reach 10 points. It's a perfect blend of deck building and worker placement. Also in Dune, it offers asymmetrical player powers with different characters to play as, which offers a unique way to play the game because each one has their own different playstyle that they should lean towards. I'm honestly not the biggest Dune fan, and I don't think you have to be to enjoy this game. I've only seen the newest movie, I've never read the books, but honestly the gameplay and the mechanics in this game is just so well done. It's just guaranteed to be a fun time every time you play this. So Dune Imperium, definitely a deck building game worth checking out. Now let's move on to number 7. Nemesis, a semi-cooperative survival game where you must run away from aliens and betray your friends at the very last moment to ensure your survival. But you also need to trust everyone, so if you escape, the ship can make it back to Earth. Now I'll be honest, I actually prefer Nemesis over Lockdown because I can actually win more at Nemesis than I can at Lockdown. Lockdown has such a longer game time, I feel like, too. Plus, the aliens are harder to kill. There's a lot more things to focus on, a lot more new characters as well. It's a fantastic game as well, don't get me wrong. I would still play Lockdown if I had the choice, but Nemesis is, I think, is just a solid, great overall game by Awakened Realms. I love the alien miniatures. I love the fact that you have to trust somebody. There's not enough time for you to go run around the board and do everything that you need to do. Make sure the engines are working. Make sure to fix the engines if they're not. Make sure that the course of the ship is set to Earth. It does have some swings, I will admit, where like if you just lose and there's nothing you can do about it. Versus if you win, it feels like it's a successful win. The only thing that does suck is it does have player elimination. Like if somebody dies, they're kind of out of the game. Still a great game. But for me, Nemesis is my favorite Nemesis game so far. I'm really looking forward to number 3 when it comes to Game Found by Awaken Realms. If you like horror survival games, this is definitely one you should play. Wonderland War. Now, honestly, when I was making this list, I did not think this game would be this high up. But honestly, I've played it so many times. I enjoy every single playthrough I have with this game. Anyone new that I show this game to, they absolutely love. Fantastic artwork. The production on this game is just insane. I do have the deluxe version, but you can still get the same gaming experience from the retail version. You don't need the miniatures to enjoy this game, but I really do love the premium chips that are offered in this game. And if you don't know what Wonderland War is, this is a push-your-luck area control card drafting game based around Alice in Wonderland. Now, each character in the game also plays very differently with one another with how their abilities work, such as like the Cheshire Cat want shards so they can hand out shards to other players, and shards give you minus points at the end of the game. Alice in Wonderland can move backwards on the Tea Party table, which can give her the better card sooner, and the Jabberwocky is able to poison cards. So if a player wants a certain card that's a really good card, they have to take that poison chip, and that's going to be something that they have to pull out in their bag that hurts them in the next phase, which is like the combat phase, the area control part of the game. The game is played over 3 rounds with 2 phases, the Tea Party phase where you're drafting cards and putting troops down on the board. The second phase is where players are going to be competing to win in a certain area to gain points. Again, it's so much fun. When I show this game to new players, they have a blast. It's always fun to push your luck to pull those chips out of your bag to try to see if you can win. Also, the production and the artwork is just a 10 out of 10, and that is why this game, Wonderland War, is sitting at number 6. So let's move on to number 5. Sleeping Gods, an absolutely and beautiful, stunning campaign game by Red Raven Games. The campaign starts with you trapped in another world based in the past. You're trapped on this ship trying to travel to different islands to wake up the sleeping gods. And in order to do that, you need to find totems so they can send you back to your world. The game has its very own choose your adventure style during the campaign, where you are presented with different choices, and based off that choice will determine where the story is going to lead. There's also a bunch of different side quests the players can go on to see even more of the world of Sleeping Gods. It's honestly a really compelling story. You meet different characters along the way, you help different villagers if you want. Also, the combat in the game, there's tons of monsters to fight, which are insane because it leads to some epic combat and can be very challenging. And it honestly doesn't matter the player count for this game. You can play it solo if you want to continue the story without other people. You don't need a game group. Or if you want to have other players enjoy the game with you, you can set it up because you're going to be playing with all the characters anyways, and just continue where you left off when you last played. The story is very unique, and that is why I would even think if you're not into campaign games, it's worth giving this one a shot. Or if you also love campaign games, this one might be a little bit on the lighter side, but can still be quite enjoyable. With that being said, let's move on to the next game. The Witcher Old World. Now, I've been talking about this game a ton on the channel, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. If you want to learn more about my thoughts about this game, definitely check out my review. I will have a link for it down below. But why I love it so much is not to do with the base game. I definitely think that the Monster Trail and the Legendary Hunt expansion amplifies my love for this game. You're playing as different Witchers, and you're trying to prove that you're the best Witcher, and the goal of the game is to earn 4 trophies. But I find that can get kind of boring, especially once you move around the map a couple times. You understand all the different locations and what you need to do in order to win. And the monsters can feel a little bit less challenging in the base game. When it comes to the Monster Trail expansion, it adds a ton of new things to the game, making the monsters harder, adding bombs, and with the Legendary Hunt expansion, it just offers a new solo mode, which I really enjoy, and it offers a final boss fight, which I love that in a game. I also really love the Wild Hunt expansion because if I want to play cooperatively with my wife because we're not too competitive, I'll bust out that mode and have a great time as well. If you enjoy adventure deck building games, then The Witcher might be worth checking out. But keep in mind that it probably does need the expansions to get the full experience out of it. So let's move on to number 3. Blood Rage, probably my favorite card drafting game because the cards that you draft will dictate your actions for the round. And this game is played over 3 different rounds, so the game doesn't take too long, but it can be intense, which makes for a great Viking game. In Blood Rage, the goal of the game is to take control of these different areas on the board so you can pillage and gain special bonuses and die in epic ways to gain glory. The game is played over different ages, and certain areas are going to be destroyed based off of Ragnarok. You'll be playing as different clan leaders, controlling your different troops, and even sometimes getting a monster to do your bidding. When it comes to Blood Rage, death is nothing to fear, for the glory of battle will be earned in eternal peace in Valhalla. And that is Blood Rage. If you like area control games and you haven't gave this one a shot, you might be missing out. But there's also other games in the series that were designed by Eric Lang, such as Rising Sun. I haven't played that one, but I heard really good things, and Arnak. Now that one has a bunch of mixed reviews, so I'm not too sure if that one's worth trying out or not, but if you played it, let me know in the comment section down below which one of the 3 games that you enjoy. Clank is sitting at my number 2. Now, if you don't know me by now, then you definitely will after this video. I'm somebody that loves deck building, if you can tell. I have 2 different versions of Clank with me, Clank Catacombs and Clank the deck building game, but honestly, any version of Clank, I'll definitely be down to play. These are pushy luck deck builders where you are going to be going down in a dungeon trying to get different loot and make it out before you wake up the dragon. Players are also going to try to get out before you and try to stop you from escaping, so they are the player that wins. Now, no matter when I play Clank, I just always am guaranteed a good time. So that is why I'm sitting at number 2. I just have so many great memories when it comes to Clank. No matter who I play it with, it's always fun. Now, last year, Clank was my number 1 game of all time, but there's a new game that surpassed it for me this year, so let's talk about it. Marvel Zombies. Now, this is actually tied for the number 1 spot with another game that I really enjoy, and that is Black Plague. Now, I love Black Plague a little bit more than Marvel Zombies in some cases because it's a lot more challenging to play that one, which makes it a lot more satisfying to win at that version of Zombicide than Marvel Zombies. But I really love the fact that you get to play as the zombies for a change in Marvel Zombies, and all their abilities are very cool and sometimes can be a little bit overpowered, but still challenging at times, especially when it comes to those harder missions. Honestly, when a game mixes good theme with good mechanics and flows really nicely, it just becomes a great game, and for me that is Zombicide, especially Marvel Zombies and Black Plague. The other Zombicides are great as well, but these 2 are my favorite. This video was my top 10, and if you guys are looking for other game recommendations, I have a whole playlist where I talk about my top 50 games of all time. Feel free to check that out right here in this corner. Let me know what your favorite games are in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.